This is Dolores Cannon again with the Metaphysical Hour. And as you know, this show goes all over the world. And one thing, before we start, I do want to give out the toll-free number if anyone wants to call in. The number is 877-876-5227. 877-876-5227. And that toll-free number goes all over the world. So anyone can call in from anywhere. But it seems to happen whenever I'm on the air, we get very few call-ins. I don't know if people are too involved in just listening or what, but that's all right. That is the number if you want to call in. Now, tonight we have a very special guest. She's an old friend of mine, Joanne Steele. And she's a psychic. But, you know, I know a lot of the word psychic has gotten a lot of bad press out there. And there are good ones and there are bad ones. And I think some of them really give the name a bad reputation. But I'm on the lecture circuit, and I've been in this for many, many years. So I check a lot of these people out. And the only ones I will ever have on my show are the ones that I know are genuine. And Joanne is one that I really know is the real thing. We've been friends for many years, and she lives up in New York on Long Island, and I don't think she minds me telling that. Okay, Joanne, you there?
Yes, I am, Dolores.
Okay. Well, let's start out. I would like you to tell us about your background.
Okay, I want to say thank you very much, Dolores, for having me on the radio show, and I'm very pleased to be a very good friend of yours. I have been doing, you've called it psychic. Yes, it is psychic, but I call it a spiritual medium.
A lot of people don't like the name psychic.
Right. It gives it's kind of like a different tone from psychic to medium.
Yeah.
Medium, what I do is I actually speak to people that have passed over to the next realm.
Uh-huh.
And I do that through them or through their guides. So when the person comes, I call them the sitter, and they talk to the people that have passed over. And I've been doing this for over 20 years.
Uh-huh.
And, of course, the more I do it, the more powerful it becomes, the more the gift becomes more powerful.
Well, I think it's with anything, isn't it? Just practice, and, you know, the more you do it, we get better at anything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And one thing I'd like to make sure that the listeners understand is that every single person possesses the gift to become psychic or medium. It's like you said, it's almost as if you use it, if you keep using it and keep meditation and, you know, doing some yoga and doing exercises to train yourself, you also can become doing what I do. It's not something that I have as a special gift that just, you know, God or Jesus or whomever you want to believe gave it to me. Everyone can have it.
But, you know, people always think it's just the few that do this, and then it always takes on that weird connotation, too, because they think only a very select few people can do it.
Right. Well, I would say that there is a select few only because we've decided to do this as work for, I consider it my job that I have to do as you do as an author. That's your job. This is my job to make sure that people understand that there is a life beyond the earth plane, that there is life beyond this one, and that I call this one Earth 101. It's our lessons.
Uh-huh.
We learn from everything that goes on this world, and we whatever we can learn, and which is what we're here to do, we take that and we benefit from that. And so I learn from the people that have passed over. That's how I learn my own lessons, and learn from those people that I can ask them questions, you know, of worldly, like questions like how the Sphinx was built or how this has happened or how come this, you know, because I can tune into different things. I can even go into the Akashic records.
Well, you're able to do that also then.
Excuse me?
You're able to do that also by going into the Akashic records?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I can do whatever the sitter wants to do. If they want to go in the past, that's fine. If they want to go in the future, that's fine. If they want to, stay in the moment, which is I always feel the best, because I always feel that, anybody could tell anybody they're going to have a red car or a blue car or, this or that in the future. But it's nicer to solve the situation that they're in at the moment, because most people come to a medium for answers that are more like due to a death in the family, or maybe the worst ones, of course, are children.
Oh, yes.
And they need answers to those questions. And so it's like really more immediate to the problem that they're coming for, other than, you're gonna have $1 million in 10 years. If that happens, it happens. But I rather stay focused really on the situation.
There's a lot of people want to know, will I find a boyfriend? Will I find a husband or a job? Or, they are thinking of the same mundane things, I guess, that everybody thinks about.
Right. And those questions can be answered, too.
Yeah.
You can answer those are very easy questions to answer, on basically when I'm doing a reading, because I'm basically in a different, my body is in the room, but it's kind of like I almost leave spiritually. The body's there, but I'm out, so I let my body be, the voice is being taken over by like a higher entity.
Uh-huh.
So they could give the messages to them. I won't remember it basically by the next day or a few hours later.
That's the same thing when I'm doing my hypnosis sessions. I forget it usually by that evening or the next day. You can't keep all of that in your head.
Exactly. It's just too much. It's and I wouldn't even probably recognize people that's come up to me in the mall and said, thank you so much for that reading, and I don't even recognize them, because most of the time my eyes are closed.
Uh-huh.
And I spirits come through on the usually they segregate themselves. I don't know why, but they come through the left side, and higher spirits, as in angels and stuff, come through on the right side.
Oh, so what comes through on the left side, the guide?
The left side would be like the people that have passed over for
Oh, okay.
sitter.
Their relatives or whoever they're wanting messages for?
Exactly. And usually what happens is I do a meditation ceremony, kind of like a secret ceremony, basically about an hour before people come, and I smudge the room and I do meditation and I quiet myself down, and people already coming into the room, the spirits.
Uh-huh.
And I always tell them to kind of hang on, don't say anything too much, because I won't remember it, so just wait. And they always seem to show up, and I'll talk to them for a few minutes, and then sometimes when I'll have 4 or 5 different people coming that night or all together, I go out into the living room, and I know who to take first, because the person the spirit that's in the room waiting for me has already said, no, take that person first, because I'm here waiting for that person.
Well, you don't allow the others in the room while you're doing a reading then, do you?
There's only one person allowed in the room at a time. It's a personal reading.
Uh-huh.
I don't usually share it with nobody except for the person. If they choose to share it with anybody, that's their stuff.
Yeah, I have the same rules also. Because I feel a lot of personal things can happen, and it's a lot easier if there isn't anyone else in the room.
That's exactly right. And you know what? What I think people think when they first come here, oh, she won't get that, or she won't hit on that. And then when they start to tape it and I start hitting on stuff, then they shut the tape recorder off because they don't want people to hear it.
Yeah.
They don't realize that we would hit on it. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry that came through, but you have to realize that when you do come for a reading, you open yourself up, and everything that is inside is going to come out.
Yeah, that's what I get. People that come for curiosity. They're not really. They say they don't have any problems. They're not looking for anything. But I tell them, if you're coming out of curiosity, you're going to get more than you bargained for.
You better believe that's exactly right.
Because
and I know
a lot of personal stuff will come out. And I tell them the same thing. You know, I tape it and I say, this is yours. You listen to it first.
Exactly.
Then you decide if you want to share it with anyone. Because they think it's kind of like a parlor game, you know.
Right.
But
And I always tell that to people, too, when they come here. This is not a parlor game. This is not tricks. I'm not going to call on spirits to come in to have fun. This is serious business.
And that's why if they think they're coming to have fun, they're going to get a lot more information than they think.
And they're pretty well shocked. I remember doing a lecture at a hall, and you know, people give me permission to do their reading, and this one girl who was with her mother, I had said, have you been pregnant, had a miscarriage or an abortion? And she said no. And she had, you know, the meeting was over and she left, and then she felt so bad she came back and said to me, I have to tell you, I'm very sorry, but I did have I did have an abortion. But I didn't want to say it in front of my mother.
Oh, yeah, see, that's the thing. That's the last thing you would want to say.
That's the whole thing, is that they don't, you know, you don't want people to hear that, and she didn't want her mother to know. But that's what happens when you do group type of readings like that.
But you never know what's going to come out.
You never know. I mean...
but it's hard for you to censor it, too, isn't it?
I can't, in a sense, censor it because of the fact that whatever comes out has to come out for the person. And I have no way, I can't lie. I'm not allowed to. I cannot do that. So whatever has to come out has to come out. And it's for that person. And they know that. Because it makes them have to think about whatever happens. I mean, I have done thousands of readings, and I know we have talked about several of them, and one...
Yeah, that's what I was wanting you to get into some of your cases.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Dolores.
Can you hold that a minute? I would like you to tell about your life. You know, how did you get into this? How did you discover you could do this?
Well... I guess, you know, I everything, you know, starts, I guess, with tragedy. At the age of 7, I was hit by a car, and that's when I guess my ability started, but I was just a kid and I didn't know really what was going on. Basically, sometimes I was very frightened by the experience because I could see if there was 4 people in the room, for me there might have been 20 because I could see the people that have been passed over.
Yeah.
And that kind of scared me as a kid. But I would talk to my best friend, and, you know, I'm not making this a religious talk, but my best friend was Jesus, and he saved me from the car accident, and I talked to him basically all my life to this point, and he always was my friend, and I just talked to him. So he became like a guide to me. And so he kind of said to me, basically, this is your job in life. This is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to help people to realize that there is an afterlife. And I said, no, I can't do that. That's too much pressure on me.
Yeah.
And he says, but that's your job. And I said, well, I have a job. I work, you know. And he says, well, you have to quit working and do this job. This is what you're put on the planet to do.
Well, you want to be normal.
Right. I wanted to be normal. Exactly. And I said, I can't quit my job. You know, you need the money. You need life. You need to live. And he says, so I ended up having a car accident that kind of put me on the disabled list for the rest of my life. And so I ended up having to do my readings. And so I said to Jesus, I said, why don't you just tell me? And he said, I did tell you. I told you to quit your job and do what I told you to do. And I have been basically on disability since 97. And I don't think